Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Thick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Benzinga's PreMarket Prep. I'm Spencer Israel, joined by Joel Elconin and Dennis Thick. Hope everyone is excited for another fun day in this market. We got a lot of news to discuss, a lot of big ratings today. Thursday seems to be one of our biggest ratings days, if not the biggest ratings day of the week. We got a nice little short report out yesterday from Muddy Waters that had some fun action as well. Couple earnings to discuss: LULU, Broadcom. Whiskey sales apparently are through the roof. We'll talk about Brown-Forman as well. And our guest today at 8:15, we're joined by Mark Shakin from Chaikin Analytics. Joel, what's going on this morning in the markets?
What's going on in the S&Ps is we have the rollover from the Ds to the March. So if you're looking at ES, you're seeing a price of down 50 cents at 31.50. But look at the December, and that's what I'm going to give my levels on today. Trading down a half a point as well at 28.75. Big area here, a double close from Tuesday and Wednesday. We got to hold that. Tuesday's low down at 20 even. Looking at crude here, we got to look at the crude daily chart here at the $56 handle, up 15 cents here at 56.10. Just looking at the daily chart, crude came off hard here. Looks like we're trying to find a bottom here at 56, bottom in that area yesterday. Gold and silver in the red. Gold down $8 at 12.58.10. Silver under $16 at 15.875. And what everybody wants to know about, Bitcoin trading up 17.29% at 15,259.40. Dennis,
is Joel? Okay, here's a question for the chat. Is Joel Elconin the best Bitcoin trader ever? Because he's up 6,500 points, and he's only been in it. How long have you been in? When did you buy that position?
I can check my blotter here.
When did you buy that?
3 weeks.
It hasn't been a month.
Oh, no, it hasn't. It hasn't. I think it was like, I wish we had better charts on this. I think it was about 3 weeks ago. Dumb luck, Dennis. I mean, we were doing the show.
No, you don't call you dumb luck. That's skill set, Joel. You have people who have been in Bitcoin right from the beginning. They took that long to make 6,500 points. You made 6,500 points in 3 weeks.
I think
you're a genius.
I think it's just symptomatic.
I'm so upset that I didn't join you. You're so smart. Honestly, though, that's 6,500 points in 3 weeks. I've never made 6,500 points in 3 weeks. It's unbelievable.
It's the best performing asset in my portfolio.
It's the best performing asset in anyone's portfolio if they've got it. So it goes up 20% a day. All right. So give us some technicals here, because we talk technicals on the show. Break down the trading action in Bitcoin here, at least over the last 3 weeks since you've been in, because this thing is just in rocket ship mode now.
I'm still struggling to do the levels on it, and the reason is
it blows through them all.
Well, no. It's I've sent an email. CoinMarketCap.com is really good, right? So I'm an open, high, low, close guy, right? So what do? Do they shut it down at midnight? And the open is at 12:01. Do they pick a designated time? Because if you're looking at this and you're focusing on the closing price, and I'll just go from.
But it never closes.
Well, coin.
How do you get a closing price? What are you using for the closing price? That's the 24-hour, what it does at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. How do you get a closing price for it?
CoinMarketCap.com.
How do they do their close? Because I see it.
I'm trying to find out. I've sent an email to them, and I haven't got an email back from them yet. But
does anybody in the chat know how do you calculate the Bitcoin closing price of the day when it never closes? There is really no close.
Because it's open 24/7. But
yeah, so there is no. Does it ever close on a holiday or anything? It never closes.
And now,
you just always trade Bitcoin.
Exactly. And I'll just give you, the trading action.
Man, if I become a Bitcoin trader, I'm going to sleep a lot less.
Yeah.
That's another reason I shouldn't trade Bitcoin. I won't get any sleep anymore.
It's, if you're looking at it's trading technically, it closed at 11,916.70 on the 5th, opened up at 11,923.40, and that was the dead low of the day. So to me, it's trading technically. And I just want to share a quote here with you. I'm doing a little article on Bitcoin, and Scott Redler had a good point, and he sums it up better than anyone. When the world has opinions, we use technicals. Bitcoin, since breaking out above 750, has moved like a high beta momentum stock. It rose, how he loves the 8 and 21 day moving average, and his favorite technical tool, all the way, which is a strong trends follow, and only has tested the 50-day moving average twice. So lots of ways to technically approach it using opinions. Lucky traders couldn't short it. They would have been taken out on stretchers, just like Amazon from 100 to 12.13. And then
this can happen though.
Yeah.
Like once you get the futures in there, maybe everybody comes in shorting and it just keeps going even higher then.
I don't know.
I don't know what's going to happen. All I can tell you, one thing I can tell you is once you get the futures in here, the volatility will come in a bit because it'll thicken up. And that's just how markets work. When you get more players in there, they thicken up. So, and that's, right now it's just buy. We know it's very difficult to short it, but the markets will thicken up and that will reduce the volatility. So that's one good thing for the futures. And, maybe Bitcoin traders don't want that. Maybe they really like the fact that they can, just, push it and do whatever they want with it. How much of this do you think, and, I know it can do a whole Bitcoin show, but how much do you think of this as manipulation? Because here it is getting jacked up as much as they can before the futures come out on this thing. Do you think, there's a few parties there that are just pushing this higher and higher and higher? And how much volume does it take to push it that high?
I don't know, because I can't see,
there's no information.
I know. I don't know. Just a tweet here from Joe Saluzzi. And I'm really glad we're having Joe on the broadcast because he's
on the 19th. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah, he's. I told him that if he came in, that you would buy him dinner and drinks, Dennis. You don't mind me saying that?
Is he coming to the D?
He's talking about it.
That'd be awesome. See Joe. Joe's one of my heroes. Joe Saluzzi, the first one, obviously on and Themis Trading along with Sal Arnick over there. They were talking about high frequency trading back before it was a thing. In 2008, they wrote that paper on toxic trading, and they've really done a good job there in the market structure world. So love Joe Saluzzi.
John Dotson, no, I bought Bitcoin. I didn't buy the GBTC. I went in there and opened up my Coinbase account. I guess I got to get it out of my wallet here, cold storage. Luke, where do you store yours? Do you store Luke's got it too. Luke's got it too. Where do you store yours?
Get Luke on the show. Call Luke over right now. We got to talk about Luke. I didn't know we had other zingers in this.
Luke, can you talk for 1 second?
What other zingers got Bitcoin?
Hold on 1 second.
Oh my God. Get Luke over here. Now we're getting other. Oh man, I don't know who else.
Are you hiding Bitcoin in your wallet, Spencer?
I don't own Bitcoin. Luke, do you own Bitcoin?
I do own some Bitcoin.
All right. Where is your Bitcoin?
Nice. How long you been in Bitcoin, Luke?
About 2 months now. So since
you're
the $5,000 mark.
So you're up more than Joel, but you took twice as long to do it. Joel's percentage on return is higher than yours. Because he got a 6,000 points in 3 weeks. You got 9,000 points. It took you 2 months.
Yeah, I'm going to chalk that up as a loss.
Why'd you buy it?
You know what? I've got some buddies that are working at some various S&P 500 type firms, and their firms are starting to show interest in it and doing research projects on it. And I figured,
so
okay,
you think more demands is coming.
Exactly. If it's getting, attention from these execs, and, I've got my girlfriend's mom writing me on Facebook, asking me what I think about it. And, and we don't talk.
That's usually indicative of a top, though. Or usually when I get everybody asking me about something, it's usually at the top. But that hasn't been the case in Bitcoin. It's been completely different. Because I've had people in the last, basically for the entire year, asking me about Bitcoin, and it keeps going up. So it's kind of, usually when everybody, your neighbor, and you go to the gym and you got 5 people stopping you as you're trying to do some weights or something, or doing a set, and they're stopping you there to ask you about Bitcoin there. That's usually the top, but it hasn't been the case here. How long are you sticking with this, Luke? Are you just sticking with this?
So here's my question. Here's what I've been thinking about for the past week or so is, what is the catalyst that causes it to correct? Because right now the fear of missing out is so high and so widespread.
It's true.
You know, I'm trying to think of what is that catalyst that starts that correction? Is it a Donald Trump tweet? You know, is it, I don't know, is it another big theft? I've been trying to think of that, and I don't have the answer as to what that is.
Sometimes they don't even need a catalyst. Sometimes they just, you know, go up so much, so parabolic, so quickly that, you know, then you get a big down day, and then everybody's like, oh, you know, they don't like the big down day. But we've had big down days in Bitcoin. It just bounces right back. So, you know, when we went up to 12,000, when it quickly came down to 9,000, you thought, okay, well, this is it. This is going to be the big correction here. And, you know, we saw the top. And then a week later, we're taking out those highs again. I mean, it's just incredible resilience for anything, you know, to go up this much.
And the thing that makes it so crazy is that it's got a $200 billion market cap. It's not like we're talking about, you know, a $25 million stock that becomes a $50 million stock.
Yeah, you're not talking something that's small anymore, at least not as small as it was. But it's weird to talk about it on a market cap basis because, you know, you can't talk like, oh, the US dollar has a market cap. Like, I don't know, like, and a lot of people obviously are talking about it that way, comparing it to stocks. But if you're calling it a currency, compare it to other currencies. And, you know, you can't really say, oh, well, the US dollar has a market cap of this, or the Canadian dollar has a market cap of that. It sounds weird to talk about it that way.
Yep.
But in any regard here, whoever has been buying it, obviously ever, is laughing all the way, not to the bank because it's not in the bank, but laughing all the way to their wallet here because this thing just goes up 1,000 points every 5 hours. I mean, it's incredible.
Some of it into
Eventually, this little bubble here, and, you know, and you can call it anything can be a bubble. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means, like, you know, when we go up 7,000 points in 3 weeks and you're doubling in 3 weeks, it feels a little bubbly to me. And eventually, you know, air comes out of them. Eventually they burst. But at what level? And does it come back a week later like it did, you know, from 12,000 to 9,000? I don't know, man. I've been a non-believer. I'm still a non-believer because I just don't know how to value it. And I've talked about that before. So, and I don't like putting anything in my portfolio that I can't value. But what is Luke going to do with these Bitcoin holdings? Are you holding on?
For the time being.
And we're going to find out more because Luke is going to be the me. I'm going out of town the last week of the year. Luke will be the me that week. So you can ask him all your questions, Dennis, in a couple of weeks because he'll be the me. But 8:12 now. Joel's
is he going to handle all the technical responsibilities too?
Yeah, you bet. Yep, you bet. So,
because we rely on Joel for the technical responsibilities. I don't know about that. Right. Sorry, Joel. That was a little shy.
8:13. We have 2 minutes until.
Can we cover a stock?
Yeah, let's.
Is this a stock show?
Yeah, let's cover.
Let's talk about Sage. We had 2 minutes to talk about a stock. Okay, forget about Bitcoin here. What about Sage? It's up. It's not up 1,000 points. It's up 60 points now. 65% SAGE on some positive data. Spencer, give us the details.
Phase 2 trial data for their Sage 217 drug, which treats depression, met its primary endpoint.
Meets the primary endpoint, forget about it. We are gone through the 100 resistance. We are gone through the previous all-time highs. We are blowing everything away here. And this thing, I looked at it about an hour ago, and it was up 50 points. Now it's up 60 points. Yeah, you're right, Spinner. This is like a Bitcoin move.
I don't know what to say. 156.50. I mean, all-time high by a large margin. I don't know if Stock Hunter's in yet today, but he had something that was up 13, 14 points. And I kind of said, well, you know, maybe below 52, if you want to take a shot at the all-time high, take a shot at the all-time high. This is beyond any level. 156.50 was your spike about a half hour ago, and 145's been holding. But if you have this one, you want to see that continuation through that pre-market high of 156.50.
I don't know what to say about it either when stocks go parabolic like this up to on 204,000 shares. But we know these smaller biotech stocks, when they get positive data, explode like this. And obviously, you know, had an explosion already previous, just about 1 month ago when it went from 65 up to 100. Well, this is the big move here now. And you know what's interesting? So many biotechs that are a wreck. I mean, they really haven't, you know, performed well. But Sage wasn't very far off its all-time high. So obviously, a lot of people are expecting, you know, maybe some positive data to come out eventually here. And they're rewarded here. So, you know, you look at your charts and you find the biotechs, I guess, that are sitting up at the highs. And I guess those are the better ones as opposed to buying the ones that are at the low.
8:15. Time to go to Mark Shakin of Chaikin Analytics.
Yep, we'll be right back with Mark. Welcome back, everyone, to Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. I'm Spencer Israel here with Joel Elconin and Dennis Dick, and we're on the line with Mark Shakin. Chaikin Analytics is his firm. He's been all over Wall Street for pretty much the last 40 years or so. Mark, how's it going?
Going well, Spencer. How are you?
Going well, Mark. We've been talking a lot the past week or so. Pretty much the dominant theme, besides Bitcoin, of course, has been the rotation away from tech into the financials and into retail and into seemingly everywhere else. Give us your thoughts on this rotation.
Well, I think it's very healthy for the market. Tech was obviously very overbought, but with good reason. Earnings are terrific. And I think you're going to now see money continue to flow into financials, but come back into tech. And we saw proof of that last night after the close when Broadcom, who's retained the symbol from AVGO, AVGO, reported better than expected revenue and earnings. You've probably been talking about this morning, but most importantly, they guided sharply higher in revenues for the first quarter, 8 to 10% higher than Wall Street estimates. It's a huge number. And you're seeing pre-market buying in Lam Research, Applied Materials, and Micron. So this, I think, is going to spur another resurgence in tech, which has gotten very, very oversold and on a short-term basis. And I think this is all healthy for the market. You instead of looking for that 3 to 5% correction, which hasn't happened for 18 months, look at the group rotation as a form of a market correction.
Mark, let's talk about that. Just the stat, and I have a stat actually that was just tweeted out by Charlie Balelo, and he showed that 2017 so far this year, our biggest drawdown in the S&P 500 overall is 2.8%. That's the lowest in basically the last 80 years, except for 1995 when we only had a 2.5% drawdown. What are your thoughts here on why this market just does not correct?
Well, we've had a worldwide economic expansion, and in the U.S., we've had an expansion in hiring. We've had an expansion in earnings and revenue, and so the economic backdrop is terrific. What I'd like to look at is what is the meaning of that low volatility advance that we've seen from 2018. So I'm looking at two stats. Number one, this is the 11th year since 1943 when the market has never been down on the year for one day. In 9 of the 10 previous instances, the market was up the following year, an average of about 12%. So that sets up a bullish sort of pattern for 2018. The second thing relates to what you were talking about, the low volatility. In years with very, very low volatility, you're typically up the following year, but you will experience that 5 to 10% correction, which typically happens once a year. So I think we're setting up a scenario for 2018 where this low volatility, steady climb has produced a year with 12 straight up months in the S&P 500 in terms of total return. March, you were down slightly, but dividends kicked in for a positive return, and you haven't been down one day this year. So this is a very positive scenario going forward into 18.
Are you concerned at all that, maybe this market's just, a little frothy, or it's the rotations is keeping it healthy? Like we had a serious, I just gave the stat, we have a 2.5% correction in the SPY, but when you look at some individual stocks, I mean, the techs did have a correction really in the last week and a half, a pretty serious one there. When you look at a stock like Micron or a stock like Applied Materials, I mean, Micron lost 10 points in a matter of 6 days. So, and you're talking about a $50 stock to a $40 stock, and it's not like Micron, some, small little company. It's a pretty big company, pretty big tech stock that's been around for a long period of time. I mean, Applied Materials, same story, went from $62 down to under $50. I mean, one thing for Square to correct like that, but when you see these falls in Applied Materials and Micron, now, why can't that happen in the overall market? Is kind of what I'm asking.
Well, anything can happen. I've been on Wall Street for 50 years, and you and I both know that you never say never. But you've got a lot of money that's still on the sidelines. In tech particularly, you've got what's known in the hedge fund business as crowded trades. Everybody sort of agrees on the fundamentals. They're extraordinarily positive for these companies. with projections going forward. So a correction on a stock like Micron, which moved from 10 to 50 and then retraces to 40, and that 10 to 50 is over the course of about 15 months. That's just normal course of business. You also have the ETF factor. You've got the XLK, which has attracted an awful lot of money. You've got tech at, I think, 28% of the S&P 500. It's the highest it's been in a long time. So a little bit of selling in the XLK brings indiscriminate selling into all the holdings in there. And of course, you've got Lam Research, Micron, and AMAT in there in the large cap space. The other thing to realize is that people who are calling this a bubble and comparing it to 1999, 2000 are missing something. In 1999, 2000, the average PE ratio for a tech stock was 90. Think about that.
Yeah.
And people were buying IBM because at 40 times earnings, they thought it was cheap. The average PE ratio for the tech stocks in the S&P is only 20 right now.
Yeah.
And we're looking at good, solid guidance for 18. Just look at Broadcom's statement. If people want to know where tech's headed, they should parse the Broadcom guidance that was issued last night. 8 to 10% revenue higher than what Wall Street have been looking for.
I mean, maybe you could argue that we've had a 17-year correction in a lot of these tech stocks here. I mean, Micron, when it had that multiple, and I'm sure it was one participating in the 80 or 90 multiple back there in the year 2000, price, the company has finally eventually caught up with price here to come on this incredible run that we've had over the course of the last year. But really, when you put it in perspective and you go to those monthly charts here, it's not nearly as frothy as a lot of people make you believe.
Yeah, Micron is sort of a poster child because they're in a very price-sensitive space, DRAM, and typically there have been up and down cycles. I mean, that's why they call the tech sector one of the cyclical sectors. It goes up and down with the economy. I think the fact that tech has been so strong speaks well for the economy going forward. And yeah, we have had big corrections. Even in the financial space, you're just now getting up to the highs in 2008. So I actually think financials are going to continue strong. Tech, I think, will start to rebound into year end. And then I'm also looking at energy selectively, extremely selectively. The refiners like Valero doing very well, Phillips 66. Some of the onshore exploration companies like Devon doing very well. But then you've got Apache, Schlumberger that are closer to 52-week lows, whereas stocks like Valero and Phillips 66 are making new 52-week highs. I love stocks making new highs as a group is turning around, and energy is clearly turning around with the price of crude oil in that $58 a barrel range.
Mark, you're getting some props in the chat here. Good call on Kohl's the last time you're on. Any other individual names that you are eyeing besides those energy ones?
Well, that's very kind that people are remembering. Yeah, Kohl's is making new 52-week highs. I think you've got to look for selected apparel stocks. So Michael Kors, which we've also liked for quite a while, is doing extremely well. I saw that PreMarket Lululemon came in with better than expected earnings. There's a company that's really been beaten down. So I think maybe it's time. We've been recommending shorts in Under Armour for God knows how long, and I think maybe time to cover those shorts and start looking for buying opportunities. But apparel and selected retailers still look good to me. I think that Black Friday proved that Amazon is not the only game in town. And with Walmart's strong report 3 weeks ago to end the third quarter earnings season, I think Amazon is still a big force. Obviously, Cyber Monday, they did over 50% of the business. But selected retailers are showing that they can compete, that they can still survive. Bed Bath & Beyond, which has been another dog that we've had bearish ratings on for over a year, actually saw its rating turn bullish. I think it's a little early to get into some of these names because the relative strength of the market still hasn't turned around. But I think there's opportunity in apparel and retail, but I would go with the leaders until and unless you see a complete technical picture that confirms the fundamental turnaround.
Mark, I would be remiss to let you go. I can't remember if the last time we were on, you were on, we asked you about Bitcoin. So I apologize if we already asked you, but I'm going to ask you about it now. Give us your brief bull bear opinion on Bitcoin.
It's a rocket, and you've got to ride it until it just feels like you can't stand it anymore, and then take your profits. I mean, there's a big debate going on about whether this is the new gold that'll be accepted as the fiat currency of the world. Clearly, millennials don't trust central banks, and that was the start of the Bitcoin revolution. But you saw today that there was a hack in one of the Bitcoin miners, and $67 million went up in smoke. So I'm a little skeptical about, and so now they're going to switch to blockchain, which is apparently the most secure technology. But what makes me nervous about Bitcoin is that it can disappear. You know, there are people out there in landfills in Staten Island looking for old computers just on the hopes that they may have some Bitcoin stored on them that people forgot about. Usually they're looking for bodies on Staten Island in landfills, but now they're looking for old computers. This is a true story, by the way. So Bitcoin is a two-edged sword. When you're trading with such an enormous momentum, a boost behind you, it's hard to say short, which I wouldn't do. But the more we see Bitcoin funds and ETFs, the more we see the Goldman Sachses of the world get into it, the more it becomes a household word, the more nervous I get. But it's the ability for Bitcoin to disappear because there's a hack or a computer glitch that makes me nervous. I mean, how would you feel about knowing that your money was in JP Morgan or Wells Fargo, and if there were a glitch, your money could disappear and there's nothing you can do about it? That makes me nervous.
I think it makes a lot of people nervous. Mark Shakin from Chaikin Analytics, thanks so much for stopping by today, Mark. Have a good rest of your day. Talk to you again soon.
You too. Always a pleasure. Thanks, Spencer. Thanks, team.
All right.
Thanks, Mark.
8:28. What
panning for? I like that panning. You know, it's so much reminiscence to these. Remember the gold, fever that we used to have. You're panning for gold. Now they're panning for computers. Like literally looking through landfills for old computers because they might have some Bitcoin on them.
They never would have. Well, not. I don't think they're looking for computing power. Is what I thought he was saying.
I don't know. I thought he was saying that they were looking for old computers because there is Bitcoins that have been lost and we don't know where they are, and they're trying to find them on old computers.
Huh. Interesting.
I think that's what he was saying. I never heard anything about that. Like AG parents say, yeah, they're looking through landfills, old computers. Well, imagine.
This just goes to show.
I found a couple Bitcoins here on this PC. What's 30 grand?
This just goes to show that my dad has been right all these years. He never throws away a computer ever. We have
you better go to your dad's house and start looking at those computers. Maybe he's hiding some Bitcoins on them, Spencer.
He has keyboards in his crawl space from the early 90s. Like we never throws away any hardware. So he's been right. He's right. There could be Bitcoin on there for all I know. Okay.
I better look at some of my old computers. Although I've never had Bitcoin, but maybe somebody put Bitcoin on there. I didn't even know about it.
Maybe. 8:29. We've only hit like one or two stocks so far. Should we cover some earnings? We had Lulu, we had Broadcom, which kind of
let's go first. We're 10 seconds away from imbalances here. Let's give it a hot off the press. So as soon as they break here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we're going to give you those numbers there. We'll see if anything jumps out at me. General Electric, 165,000 to sell. Square, 112,000 to buy. Those are significant there. Bank of America, 170,000 to sell. That's significant as well. Just trying to jump around and see if I see anything of significance. Otherwise, ex-US steel. Oh, the steel stocks took off yesterday. Really blasted off. 52,000 to buy here in X. So a little bit of follow through there. Alibaba, 55,000 to buy. ExxonMobil, 45,000 to sell. It's about what I'm seeing here this morning. So there's a few significant ones there.
All right, let's go to Lulu.
Let's do it.
All right.
How was the report?
Lulu reported yesterday Q3 adjusted EPS of 56 versus 52 cents, sales of 619 versus 609 million dollars. So a beat on both those numbers. They also updated their outlook for the fiscal year. Q4 guidance coming in higher than expected. EPS guidance, Q4 sales guidance coming in higher as well. Fiscal year EPS guidance coming in higher. Fiscal year sales guidance coming in higher as well. So
a good report.
Guidance higher across the board.
Yeah, I also saw a comment there from them about China as well, and I'm just trying to grab it and see if I can see. Yeah, Lululemon predicts the sales in China could be as much as 40 to 50% of their business eventually here. So they're positive on China as well, and I did notice when they came out with that comment, the stock popped even more. So big pop here. Good report, said everything that the market wanted to hear, and we are, it's funny, you talk about Lululemon, and it's one of the retailers that actually had a pretty good year even before this recent last month of run. But, when you put that and you look at the monthlies, we are not that far from all-time highs on Lululemon now. And that seemed at the beginning of the year when we were down at $48, it seemed like a pipe dream to think we could get back to $80 again. But not far off. 81.81 was where we were just, or 82.47, I believe. 82.50. I was looking a little bit further. 82.5 all-time high. So you're about 9 points off. We're up 8% here today. Not that far off. Joel.
Oh boy, what do you do on this one? I mean, took a way above yesterday's high, so you can't even use that as support. Pre-market action, I'll just stick here, 73.90. That's your pre-market high. What's significant about this $74 area? 3 brackets in a row. You hit that. So you want immediate follow through 73.90. Then we got to go to a weekly chart. I mean, hold out for, $80. I don't know, Dennis. This thing has just been a rocket ship. Let's just give you a high from, it's way above that high. 77.58. I'm throwing out a number, September 2016 high. That's $4 away. Still got to take out that seller at 74.
That's an incredible move there for Lululemon here overnight as well. Let's go to Broadcom. We had Mark Chaikin just on who was talking briefly about it there, but let's give you those numbers here from AVGO.
$4.59 versus $4.52. Sales of $4.84 billion versus $4.83. So a slight beat on the sales and a 7-cent beat on the EPS. Q1 sales guidance coming in line with the estimate.
It's a nice pop here, and it really chopped around after the report. Some people were like, oh, you're going to take profits here, you're going to hit it, but eventually they did start buying, and the buyers came in about 30 minutes later, and it sustained that rally, and it's been hanging up here for a while now in the 275 area. And again, here's another tech stock within striking distance of its all-time high.
You do have a pre-market high of 80.64, 280.64. 278 still seems relevant to me. That was a double top back from the 29th and 30th. So as of now, 278, I'd look at that as a resistance level. Above that, there's another, you got your pre-market high at 80.64, and then the all-time high, two highs. The all-time high, 85.68, buffeted by an 84.90 high. So call that 85 even as your level above that.
Tailored Brands, the old Men's Warehouse there, TLRD, reported earnings last night as well, and another retailer beating the numbers.
A lot, 75 cents versus 54-cent estimate. Sales of 810 versus $807 million. So a beat on both. Fiscal year sales guidance coming in higher than the estimate. $1.84 was the estimate for the fiscal year. There's actually going to be $2.03 to $2.08 is what they see.
$20, big whole psychological number. That's, if I was just, looking, at a psychological level, you're right there. I don't know what the pre-market high is. Joel, can you tell us about it?
20.20 here. This is the combinations of Josie A. Banks, right? And
Men's Warehouse, yeah.
Men's Warehouse, one of the worst mergers of all time here. 2020 got the pop, traded up $2.49. Haven't been in a $20 handle in quite some time. Let's look at trading above. Just a lot of air here. This thing really got whacked in March and April of 2017 of this year. So 2012, goes by that. Continue higher, half and whole numbers as usual. I'm not sure. Going back on a daily, you got a big gappy area to fill. This must have been after a bad earnings report. That gap is between 17.11 and 22.73. So maybe not today, but potential gap fill coming up in tailored brands.
Dollar General reported earnings, and it's trading up another $4. And Dollar General is right there. Actually, I think that might be an all-time high for. Oh no, that's just off 96.88, just off the all-time high. Spencer, details for DG.
98 versus 94 cents on the EPS. Sales of 5.9 versus 5.8 billion dollars. They also narrowed their fiscal year EPS guidance by about 5 cents, and the guidance is still a little bit light. The estimate was 4 cents higher than the guidance on the high end.
It's not that great, but it doesn't matter. You're a retailer right now. Every retailer that reports just gets popped. Anyway, so 4.5% trading up near the all-time highs. I can't come in here and buy it here, though. Like, I mean, just think about this now long term. You know, you got murdered back there, August, and everybody was talking about it. Now they're all going to love this stock as it's approaching new all-time highs again. But I can't come in here and buy it here now, because this is where the major resistance was from 2016 before we got crushed. So I'm hands off. Obviously it's too high. I don't know if you want to be shorting these things because they're hot right now. So the old Nick Shaheen saying, too high to chase, too hot to short, kind of applies here. What's Joel Elconin's thoughts here, because he's good at trading this crazy stuff. So
right.
Moving up.
Let's just go with your pre-market high, 95.5. You absolutely want to see follow through that level, and you're holding up. You're only 30 cents away from it. Even a buyer up here at 95, at least over the last two brackets. And Dennis gave you that other number, the all-time high at 96.88. I'm sure a lot of people would like to see that. So there's a couple targets, but it looks like it's really trying to hold 95 here.
Jump over here to Sienna, also reporting there this morning, and CIEN is trading up in the pre-market as well, although it's starting to leak. This was one that was up significantly earlier here and slowly starting to leak. It's also one of those tech stocks that have not participated. So there's not a lot of tech stocks that haven't been running here in the last year, but this one basically is, this one's actually down for the year here, CIEN. So give us a number, Spencer.
46 cents versus 50 cents. Sales of 744 million versus 736 million dollars. So a beat on the sales, a 4-cent miss on the EPS. They also announced a $300 million buyback.
Give us the details here on the after hours or pre-market action.
I don't know. They whacked it down to 20.55. That wasn't quite the low of the move. Then they jacked it up to 23.15.
23.15.
That's what I got to print. Yep.
Holy cow! I know I saw it in the higher 22, so you're right. It was probably.
And it traded some volume. It traded volume on that bracket. Really traded some 65,000 shares traded on that bracket. What I'm looking at here, just go to your dailies, right? If this thing stays green on the session, 21.17, you're buffeted by a pair of lows at 21.01 and 21.10. So there's your good support. Going into rally mode here, you clear 22. I see a 203 high, 180, 22 even, clears out 22. I think things open up considerably to the pair of highs at 22. This is just not a mover here, 22.60. So 22 even, 22.60 on the downside, 21 or on the upside, 21 even for support.
You want to go to movers? Let's talk the big mover of yesterday, and it's still a stock that is moving here today, and that's OSI Systems, OSIS. And just when you thought Muddy Waters didn't have the influence that Citron does, they go on Bloomberg television and give this short that, what was he calling it, Spencer? He had a name. Said rotten to the core or something.
Yep, rotten to the core.
Rotten to the core, right on Bloomberg television. And actually, this came out about 5 minutes. So they tweeted out in the pre-market that they were going to be coming on Bloomberg television with a new short, and they got too excited. They jumped on gun because then they released a YouTube video about 5 minutes before the airing of the Bloomberg TV segment, and it was on OSIS. So OSIS actually started tanking about 5 to 6 minutes before it actually going on Bloomberg television there. So if you look around 9:55, it just starts to go down. And it actually rallied a little bit when they was on Bloomberg TV. I don't know if rotten to the core stuff and that. It just sounds all a little bit manipulative to me, trying to manipulate your position to the downside. But can't argue with their influence. Stock goes from 85 down to, holy cow, you ain't going to believe this, $53. $53 it goes down to yesterday, $53.80.
Yep.
So basically, because they came out and said, we see, what was it, some kickbacks or something, we're being paid for some deals.
Do you know what they do? Do you know what OSIS does?
No, satellites?
No, tell us.
They make the technology that like at airport security check-ins, like the machines that can like see through your luggage and stuff. That's what they do. So Muddy Waters' main point was that they have this contract with Mexico that accounts for a hugely disproportionate amount of their revenue, and that contract is up for renewal, and they have evidence that the only reason they got the contract in the first place was, or they claim to have evidence of bribes and kickbacks. So they have this one contract that supposedly makes up a huge amount of the company's business, and without that, they are apparently rotten to the core. So says Muddy Waters.
You gotta say it like that, though.
We reached out to them. We reached out to them for a comment. They didn't get back to us. But that's where we're at right now.
You know what?
You gotta say it that way. Joel, what are your thoughts here? And you're coming on like, and you're right there, this company's rotten to the core.
Well,
that just sounds like you're trying to manipulate the stock price when you're saying stuff like that.
Dennis, when I tell you what the volume has been in this thing, I mean,
Tell me.
Oh my God. Yesterday it traded 10.6 million. You know what it traded on Tuesday?
What?
89,000 shares.
So they're going to pick on the company that doesn't trade and that they can have the most influence on.
Yes.
And it's,
I'm not saying if I had that influence. Yep. I'm not. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say on that.
But they're never going to, come out, and, say this on a stock like Apple or something, big, because it's not going to move like that. They're not going to make that kind of money. So here they are. They can come in and short the stock, and then they can come and obviously, come out with this rotten to the core stuff. And they know, because they're so influential, they know that they're instantly going to be up huge money in this. So is it really a good call, or is it just using your power? I mean, they've built that power, so give them props for being able to build that power. Citron's the same thing. These two companies have a license to print money, though, just because they are so influential. Imagine being able to go and short a stock and then come on live television and talk about it and watch it fall 25% just because you talked about it. That's incredible influence. Like we always talk about Icon, and he'll buy a stock, and then he talks about it or tweets it out. And Icon's been quiet lately, and the stock will pop 2 or 3%. This is falling 30% a day. I mean, these are incredible moves here. I don't know if they, maybe it's true. Maybe, it's got, some issues. Maybe they've really done their homework here, and, and give them some props because they've uncovered some stuff before. But, wow, even if they're wrong here, even if, they're wrong, they can already book the profits. I'd like to know if they cover into stuff like that, if they actually, are, if they're covering yesterday, or if they just hold this thing and say, it's going to continue to go down because it's rotten to the core.
You know what? If I don't know if I'm stepping out on a limb here, but if Muddy Waters came to us and said, we have a short thesis on a stock and we want to break it on your show, I would pull up the volume in this stock and I would say, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it, because it's just, it's just too easy to do something like this. I mean, obviously do their research and stuff, but if this was a stock that, traded some good volume and things like that, I mean, this is just picking on it. It's just picking on it. And what they're saying may be true. I have no idea. I'll just give you what I'm seeing here, 5380.
How many companies, I just want to stop. How many companies, and I watched the segment, but I didn't dig into the details. I didn't read the report. But how many companies, get kickbacks and stuff? Are you going to say every company that, is getting kickbacks is rotten to the core? The entire world's built on kickbacks.
We don't get
so now you're just going to point out this one company, and maybe, they got this contract because there's a kickback involved or something like that. But there's a lot of other companies that do this type of stuff too. So, on kickbacks. And I don't know, how bad it was. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't dig into the report. But if it's just kickbacks and they're rotten to the core because they're doing kickbacks, how many companies are rotten to the core then? Kickbacks are through the entire world.
I think,
especially when you're talking companies overseas.
I think the rotten to the core was more of a reference to the fact that they claim that OSIS is artificially inflating the prices of their contracts, and that this one contract that is apparently up for renewal accounts for a disproportionate amount of their revenue, and if they lost that, they'd be screwed. I think that is where they're coming from. But I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying.
53.80. You have $10 off that area, so I think you have some back and fill here. Some people that hit it yesterday, locking in profits. I mean, if you really want to hold out, you really are believing it's going to zero, then wait for zero as your target. But there's a pair of lows at the monthly lows here at the $50 area. Actually, 3 monthly lows between 48.76 and 51.03. So 50 would be a level. Coming on the upside here, I think people are looking their chops here at 64. There's a seller standing out at 64 here. That was the high during a 15-minute bracket just before it broke down yesterday, and that's where we're bumping up against. So in the pre-market, currently trading 63.34, but above 64, who knows where this thing can go.
Let's go to ratings land here. Lots of interesting ones, like Spencer was alluding to on the just when he was opening the show there. This has been a busy morning here for ratings. Let's jump over here to Expedia and Priceline, both getting downgraded here at MKM Partners. Both of those stocks are weaker. We can actually throw C-Trip in there too. C-Trip actually, coincidentally, though, getting downgraded by JP Morgan. So you've got 3 stocks here, obviously looking at online travel, and all of them getting downgrades here today. Go to Priceline first. PCLN is trading down $15 here. It's a stock that got killed after their earnings report. Came back a long ways, but has started to leak here again. Technically setting up here, what are you thinking about PCLN, Joel?
1,700. Let me take a look here. They probably took that out, right, on this.
It's right there.
Yeah,
no,
I
they
mean,
didn't actually.
yeah.
It's just a downgrade. Just a downgrade.
Yeah, I keep it. I keep an eye on. Was it directly on Priceline with Priceline and Expedia?
Priceline and Expedia. And where were they going to, Spencer? Did they go neutral, or did they go? Where did they go on
They
these?
went from buy to neutral.
Buy to neutral.
1,700. You know, you had a couple lows there over the last few sessions from actually last Friday and then yesterday. So that would be, you know, a level of control here. Also, you had lows at 1,700. No, not really. 1,700. I'd go with those 2 daily lows below that. Look out, coming back on the upside when you see this kind of price action. People love to see that close at 1904, but keeping an eye on 1,700 here in Priceline, and then Expedia EXPE. Now this one has a level underneath that you got to keep an eye on. The recent low of the move is 115.55. We haven't reached that yet, trading at 117.19. So if you're holding out for the low of the move, which is back on November 10th, I'm looking at 115.55.
Jump over here to C-Trip as well, CTRP. I'm going to let my comments, full disclosure, I do have a position on in CTRP. I'll let you talk about it there, though, Joel.
Dennis does have a short position in CTRP.
Yeah, I do.
If you had a
That's
long,
just because of rating, though.
Yeah, okay.
That's a day trade.
Okay, as a day trade, let's see what's going on. I mean, all these charts look the same, just hanging out near the lows of the move. 44.10 is your pre-market low, but the level you need to keep an eye on. Still has a pair of lows at just above 44. Let me see here at 44.55. So that will now act as resistance. Let me go a little bit farther out to see. I mean, if you get follow through the pre-market low, let me pull this up on my other computer for more detailed numbers. You had a low, Dennis, 42.54 from February earlier this year. Not sure if we're going to see that today.
Yeah, it's just a downgrade here. I'm probably going to cover this near the open. Shake Shack, SHAK, upgraded at Morgan Stanley here, just to equal weight. I feel like this is a little late to the party, though. A little bit of a chasing price call. It has been hot.
Wow.
$30 to basically in the last 3 months, up to $42 here now, trading up in the pre-market. 42.26 on an odd lot is bid at $42 here as well. Shake Shack, baby.
I feel like we haven't talked about this one in a while. They haven't gotten an upgrade since May 18th.
Wow.
Long
Nice.
time.
Nice.
This is just kind of to neutral, though. Equal weight's a neutral. So
But an upgrade. Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, I feel like it's chasing price here. That's why I feel like this one is. What are your thoughts here? Shake Shack. It's been Kramer talked about. Somebody asked Kramer on Mad Money about this last night. Kramer just said it's been hot, squeezing some shorts here of late, but he still didn't like it, which is rare because usually when shorts are going up, Kramer likes them all. $42. What are your thoughts?
Dennis, name one of the other catalysts behind this move in Shake Shack, and I didn't even look at this stock. Come on,
There's another catalyst.
There's been a catalyst in this.
Oh, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah.
You think so? You think you got to lift off the BWLD news? Maybe.
And you had Panera earlier in the year. I mean, that's the way I look at things, right, wrong, or indifferent. But I didn't even look at this one when I was thinking about stocks to pick on. I mean, look at let's just go to the BWLD chart here, and that deal was announced on November 14th. So we go to Shake Shack. Let's see where that was on November 14th. And on November 14th, that stock was at $37. Actually, on the 14th, it closed at 38 even, and it got a little bump. To me, it's all about 43.04, Dennis. That was a high from yesterday. Got to figure out whether or not there's a secret seller, if he will emerge there again. We are trading up in the pre-market, but have not hit or even come close to that 43.04 level.
Yelp getting downgraded at Piper this morning, and YELP is a stock that has been leaking here as well in the last, look at this, down 6 days in a row. It's going to make it maybe a seventh here today with the downgrade. Trade down 2.7% in the pre-market there.
Ooh.
Yelp.
Oh boy, this is not a pretty looking chart here. Momentum going to the downside. Couple daily lows to keep an eye on here. And where are we at? The 41.88. Let me see how bad they're whacking it in the pre-market. Trying to cling to $40, 75 cents off that low. So that's something of significance. On the daily charts, had the bump after earnings, and that low on the earnings day was 39.57, or a little bit after earnings. So there's a target under 40, 39.57. Then 37.85, and then you're talking about a 5-point gap to fill. But see what happens to the pre-market low of 40, and then the low from August 7th at 39.57.
Cheesy in the chat's asking about AMD. I'm long AMD in my invest portfolio.
Ouch.
And it's not a pretty one. I'm still mad at CNBC because I bought it when Tesla news I thought was there that wasn't there. Obviously, I should have sold it when the news turned out to not be true. But regardless, here it's come down significantly. It's at $10 here now. Ace is saying it's cheap here, and $750. Ace was, Ace good calls on Bitcoin and good calls on AMD all these years. He was one that was touting this thing at $2. It's at 10 here now. It's come off significantly. It's one of those like 7 or 8 losers I do have in my invest portfolio there. Not pretty as of late. I don't know what to say. It looks broken here, but $10 psychological level. It's nice that it's got back up over $10. Also nice that it put a double bottom in at 970 and 971.
Yep.
So I could argue, from a day trading perspective, you have an out now. I'm sticking with it in my invest portfolio. But even as a trade here, as long as you're above 970, you don't take out the double bottom, you could try it.
Yeah, I exactly. And I have seen the stock do this on multiple occasions, maybe even more than 2 lows. I mean, here you had 4 lows in the same area. Nice pop. Not sure what the news was here. Does the same thing on the upside, puts a couple highs and lows in. So if you're looking at this from a swing trade here, yeah, you actually got 3 lows between 970 and 982 over the last 3 sessions. So what that signifies to you is someone's buying a boatload of stock. Maybe they're $10 is their target, but they're letting it, get under 10, 970, and then they come in and buy, 10, 15 million. So there you go. Leaning on that area, 3 lows. I like that in AMD. Coming on the upside, if in fact you could get rid of 1034 here, which we haven't taken out, you have a trio of highs up at the $11 area. So AMD shaping up here for a potential rally.
Just jumping back over to ratings here. And I just want to talk the steel stocks overall because these had a great day yesterday. And somebody in the chat pointed this out. And actually,
Spinner, I think it was.
Was it Spinner that was pointing it out? Somebody
Yeah.
was pointing out in the chat that steel was having a good morning. And I actually tried to bid all the steel stocks there. I did get one. I got Steel Dynamics, and it was one of my big winners there yesterday. STLD actually opened up right near the lows. You can see that opening print right around 38.76. I blinked and I was up like 50 cents in this position. So it was nice that that stock didn't open as high as some of the other ones. US Steel opened right at the lows, Nucor opened right at the lows. I mean, all these things just blast off into orbit there yesterday. So nice call there from the chat. If it was Spinner, good call on the steel stocks yesterday morning. They did peel back after, and they did give back a lot of those gains, especially in Nucor. You look at that, it gave back at all. But what are your thoughts here on steel? AKS catches an upgrade from JP Morgan here. It's trading up 30 cents in the pre-market. That is a big move for AK Steel.
AK Steel. All right, I was still looking at Steel Dynamics. You're right. It takes a lot of stock to move it during the regular session. I've hit 540, backed off a dime. So let's go to see if you could get any confirmation here versus the daily charts. That's what we like to do here on pre-market prep. And you can see that you have a high at 546, and then you get into that gap area. So let's just call it 550. If you call 550, you could be looking for $6, but take note here that that's a 5% move up 27 cents. Takes a lot of stock to move that during the regular session. I just want to talk overstock here. Someone mentioned this in the chat, and this was one that I think Sean's been playing this on both sides of the market. He liked it long, and now he's short, or has played it from the short side. Gap fill, you know how I always talk about gap fills here? Well, it looks like you just did get one. You had any TD gap. You needed to get to 42 and a quarter. Where'd you get into that? Got to 42.30 yesterday and closed at 42.65, trading up 43.15. I mean, really you need to clear 47 and a half to get out of the woods on this one, because you got a triple top there. Last three sessions, really could go anywhere between that. If it takes out 42.30 on the gap fill, we're looking under $40 on this one. Here's another one with some overhead supply, pair of lows, 39.15, 39.60. That was back earlier in the month.
Allergan. I did see the Allergan downgrade. I must have missed that one when I was looking through. AG and Matt is saying in the chat that it got downgraded. I'm just going to check the news as well because I missed that one. But it is trading down a buck. Who was it downgraded?
At Argus from Biotech.
Argus. Oh, it just happened. That's why it was 741. So downgrade to hold at Argus.
Thanks,
this
Argus.
is another one. We're picking on me today because I should have given you my invest portfolio sometime and just show you all the stocks in there. I've got so many, and obviously not going to win on them all. But Allergan's been a bad one. I bought this thing thinking it was cheap. My thought process was Pfizer was willing to pay $330 for it. I was getting at $220. I thought I was getting on the cheap. It actually rallied from that point, but I held on too long, and it's just been a dog ever since. And now, there's other companies coming out with, this other Botox, potential, or competition for Botox. Allergan's got a whole lot of problems here. So, and biotech is out of favor as well. So when stocks are out of favor, they go down for a long time.
It's down here, not on a ton of volume, couple hundred shares trading. I'll just go to the daily charts.
Downgraded though.
Yeah, downgraded. Yeah. Two levels to keep an eye on here. You have the low close of the move, which is something I like to keep an eye on. 164.28. That was right near the low from yesterday at 63.80. So keep an eye on 164, and then 160.07. That represents the low of the move, but they don't look like they're whooping on it yet. Spencer, 9 o'clock here, 8:59 and 20 seconds. You want to wrap
the only other rating I saw today was Hyatt catching an upgrade from MKM Partners from Neutral Buy this morning.
They're telling you to buy it now?
Hey, I don't make the notes.
Okay.
Dennis, is there any changes to imbalances in the last half hour?
Some have grown. The ones I gave you have gotten bigger. I do notice the banks are weak here this morning. So banks are showing a lot of weakness. TLT is up a little bit, and that often does hurt the banks, but it's not up much. But the banks are weak. Bank of America is trading down 15 cents, got 242,000 to sell. Citigroup had that bad news that came out late yesterday there, and they smacked Citigroup on it. They were saying that trading revenues are going to be down. I think they said 15%. 78,000 shares to sell in Citigroup here, so a little bit of follow through selling in Citigroup. JP Morgan's trading down 43 cents. It's got a small sell and balance, 19,000. Wells Fargo's 45,000 shares sell and balance. So we are seeing weakness in the financials. We're also seeing, weakness in a few sectors this morning. Gold is very weak this morning.
Yeah,
gold has been out of favor. And, now it starts to break down here. A lot of these gold miners are just ugly. And it just goes to show you again, it seems like, whenever the mass media starts to get, right in and starts to love stuff, that's often the times where, maybe should be taking some profits, because back in 2015, Barrick Gold got down to $5. Then it ran up to 20, 21, 22, and everybody's like, oh, these miners look great. Now Barrick Gold ABX is down at $13 again. I don't own hardly any gold miners in my investment portfolio, and the reason is the cost of production is fairly high for all of them. They're so dependent on where the price of gold is. I mean, if you're bullish the price of gold, you might as well own gold miners. But I'm not really a gold bug, and it's something, if you looked at my portfolio, you're like, holy cow, you have like 1% gold only. Normal investment portfolio should have 5 or 6, and I'm like, been pretty happy I've only had 1% gold, because it has been a perennial underperformer, and I just don't, see the luster that maybe other portfolio managers do.
From the chat, they were asking about JUNG, and that's the junior gold miners, bullish 3 times.
JNUG.
JNUG.
That's Joel's dyslexia kicking in again.
Thank you very much. All I could say is, someone kind of likes it around the 12:30 area. Since 7:30, since 7 o'clock. Wow. Really, since the stocks reopened at 4 a.m., you got someone sniffing around here at 12:30. So see if that buyer persists in the regular session. You are making a new low of the move. That low of the move was from yesterday at 1262 and a 1279 close. So see what happens here. Gold down 880. Spencer, we went way over today.
Oh, that's okay.
We're going to pay you overtime today.
All right. Well, a couple things before we wrap up. Props to Jason Raznick on the show yesterday talking about Tesla and their semi trucks. Luke pointed out to me this morning that
I saw that.
Budweiser purchased, or I should say Anheuser-Busch purchased 40 semi trucks in Tesla this morning. They had a good day yesterday as well. So I saw a question somewhere, I don't remember where now, about our Bitcoin special. That'll be on the 19th during our regular show. We won't have a regular show that day. It'll be just a Bitcoin show, and that it'll be 8 to 9, just as you normally watch the show every day, is how you'll be able to watch the Bitcoin show that day as well. If you want to catch any part of today's show or older shows, you can catch our podcast in the archives on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Stitcher, or on YouTube.com/BenzingaTV. But that's it for us today here in very snowy Detroit. It's really starting to come down out there. Hope it's not snowing where you are. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll be back with you folks on Friday.